are back in that group and it was simply a case of them having a drink, or whether they too are beginning to struggle.
Mutai, the lone Ugandan now. They had 3 up in the lead pack for a while, but now even he's starting to get off the back of the pack. And this gradual acceleration, they're really starting to put the hammer down now. This is what you were talking about a moment ago.
So, is he doing that in the direction of Kipchoge or his compatriot Lalisa? He's doing it again. I think he wants Kipchoge to do his turn at the front. Well, it tells you one thing. Kipchoge, by the way, didn't give him any reaction whatsoever, did he? He was focusing on his own race. It tells you at least that Bahanu's really up for this.
Rupp's still able to hang on to the lead 3. He's in the lead 4. But the 2 men getting off the back here. Mutai starting to look as though he's feeling the strain a bit. And also Korea is getting off too. So now it's starting to look as though we might be down to 5. Probably just a little bit too early to say that, but the one thing you can say is that Galen Rupp of the United States is looking very comfortable. How much will he have left in his legs at the kick?
I'm not surprised, actually. In terms of the 3 Kenyans, if you look at what they've done in recent times, Biwott and Eliud Kipchoge would be the more fancied of the trio. So if anyone was going to drop off the back of that in terms of the Kenyans, then it would be Wesley Korea, and Kipchoge casting off the hat.
15:03 was the last 5 kilometre split, and we're coming to the split now. 1:47.40, so they have gone 14:25 for that last 5k.
That is absolutely brutal. And I saw Galen Rupp glancing over his shoulder a little while ago. Eliud Kipchoge there just put his hands out in consternation. He wanted to reach for his individual drink, but had to settle for a bottle of water. And Rupp has discarded the hat again. That's the second time he's done that. He's looking for his own individual drink, which he manages to get. I think he's hurting. And with 14:22, no wonder. Now, the question for Galen Rupp, can he manage to hang on for another Olympic medal? Remember, he got the silver behind Mo Farah in 2012. He's searching for his own drink there. He's discarded his second cap. We saw him glancing over his shoulder a few hundred meters ago. He's hurting.
Well, I can tell you that the gap between 3rd and 4th at the moment is 47 seconds. Bahanu has gone through, but he is joined and headed now. Mutai and Biwott go past him. They went through at the same time. So it is about 47 seconds between Rupp and these 2 men, who will still be harbouring some desire, well, a lot of desire, but some hope of taking the bronze medal. And look at the conversation going on between the 2 up the front.
Wow. Look at the acceleration as well from Eliud Kipchoge. I think he wasn't happy with the fact that Lalisa was right on his heels. He may have even clipped him a little bit, and Kipchoge was almost motioning him to say, well, hang on a minute, there's Stanley Biwott. And Biwott's had to stop.
Wow.
Well, I thought he might be in the mix to catch Galen Rupp if Rupp began to tire. But Lalisa there, the gauntlet was laid down by Kipchoge, who said, listen, if you're going to run like that, you might as well run alongside me. I think this is Kipchoge's race. I know that's an early call with 20 minutes of running still to go. But look at how fresh his legs appear. And the Ethiopian is really having to work for his cadence. Wow. Eliud Kipchoge is turning this into an absolute masterclass.
Well, probably not a good idea to make him angry, because that's what he was a moment ago, and they might have just poked the bear there, and all of a sudden Eliud Kipchoge says, I'm having no more of this. I'll go out and run my own race. And he takes a little glance over the shoulder, and the gap is around 15 to 20 metres and widening. And here's the incident that perhaps prompted it just around this time. And Kipchoge says, what are you doing there? What are you doing on my heels? There's no need to be doing that. Well, if you're going to do that, I'm going up the road.
Amazing exchange at the business end of a marathon. And this now is the most important 20 minutes in Eliud Kipchoge's career. He has achieved a great deal. World champion while still a teenager in 2003 in Paris, beating El Garouge and Kenenisa Bekele to the 5,000 metre world title. Then came the bronze in the Olympics in 2004. And then the silver in 2008, missing out to Kenenisa Bekele, who did the double. But the Ethiopian has not become completely detached here. Lalisa, the bronze medalist from the World Championship in Daegu, he believes that he can reel this lead in of Eliud Kipchoge's, and that metaphoric elastic band hasn't snapped, and Rupp's still going okay in third place, but this is going to really hurt Galen Rupp. You were asking me earlier, how's he going to feel when the acceleration comes? Well, of course, he can run 14:20s in his sleep for 5,000 metres on the track. He probably does that during a rep session, but put 20 miles in his legs up until that stage and then begin asking the questions, and they're a little more difficult to answer. So Rupp is now going to be managing his own demons as he tries to hang on for what would be an incredible bronze medal.
Lalisa is just holding sight of Kipchoge at the moment, whereas Rupp, even though it seemed as though he was inside of the second place getter, has lost contact. Now there is a relative positioning of the men who are chasing, Mutai and Baranu, who are now racing together, so at least they've got the advantage of having someone there. They might be able to do a couple of little turns for each other, and that can get you 1 or 2 seconds. But this man now appears to be going up the road. He was pretty careful there because it was a precarious turn on a slippery part of the course. We were down there this morning as we were leaving, and the heavy rain had fallen and left a lot of puddles on that area, and they're about to head back into the town area. Have a look at Rupp's viewpoint, and he can see the man a long way up the road, and it's going to be a mighty performance for him to even think about getting the silver medal. At the moment, what he needs to do is concentrate his efforts into running his own race and standing on the podium.
Yes, and just getting a glimpse of Rupp on the previous shot, you could tell how careful Lalisa was there as he went round that corner. He's running okay here. His cadence still seems quite positive, but he will be really, really hurting. And I wonder if there's any slip up in his momentum at all. There he's glancing round again because he's trying to see how close Bahanu and Solomon Mutai are behind him in 4th and 5th. It looked as though it might be Stanley Biwott who was closing the gap. But if there's any problem for Rupp in the last 15 minutes, the Ugandan Solomon Mutai might be in a position to strike. Well, and this is fascinating because it's Germe Gebre Selassie, the reigning world champion, who suddenly recaptured some momentum. So he's gone past Lemi Bahanu, and it looked as though Bahanu had recovered his momentum. So you've got Bahanu running with Mutai, and all of a sudden Germe Gebre Selassie looks as though his legs are full of it here.
He's sprinting.
So that means if there's any problem for Rupp, or for Lalisa in second place, there is still enough time, with about 14 or 15 minutes of running to go, there is still enough time for the Eritrean to produce his nation's second Olympic medal. Remember, they've only won one, and that was a bronze with Zerzane Tadesse in the 10,000 metres in 2004. So there's all sorts going on behind this man.
They are coming up to the Museum of Tomorrow, where they will run a little loop down beside the building, and then they will come back around the other side of the building, and then they'll be heading back into the centre of Rio de Janeiro. The weather is starting to clear after it was overcast skies and plenty of precipitation early before the race. But now, just as Eliud Kipchoge is heading off into the sunrise, another battle may be emerging. Maybe Gebre Selassie can do what we thought was impossible when we saw him stopping just a few kilometres ago.
Well, there could be real drama in these closing stages. Eliud Kipchoge, twice the Olympic medalist, but not the colour he wanted on the track. This is his bold bid to finally get Olympic glory. And there are the 3 medalists. And if anything, Galen Rupp may just possibly be closing the gap on the Ethiopian in second place.
I think you're right.
Wow. So he's aiming to become the first American-born athlete to pick up a medal since Frank Shorter 40 years ago. Meb emigrated to the States, so we have had an American silver medalist in 2004. Well, what a performance this would be for Galen Rupp to replicate his silver from the 10,000 metres. Now, There's the gap. We should expect the tall figure of Galen Rupp to appear in shot. I mean, the angles sometimes do foreshorten it. Now he's coming round the corner. That gap looks bridgeable to me. If there is any let-up from Faisa Lalisa, then Galen Rupp looks as though he's in a position to pounce. And I think he is thinking about silver. He's not worrying about whether he's going to hang on for the bronze. He's looking over his shoulder just to make sure, as we return our view from behind Eliud Kipchoge. The athlete in fourth is Gurmeet Gebrselassie. We're still waiting to see how far behind Galen Rupp he is. But how good to see the crowds beginning to turn out in force here, and when they head back towards the finish, it should be, on the evidence of what we're seeing here, a glorious finish and a glorious moment for Eliud Kipchoge. He looks full of running. There's no sign of fatigue in his legs whatsoever. He has been the world's outstanding performer over the marathon distance for the last 3 years, and that looks to be continuing here on the most important occasion of his career.
And this man can't afford to be doing too much looking in the rear vision mirror. He has to run his own race, maybe focus his efforts if he can see Kipchoge rather than the man who's behind him. The gap between them was about 50 metres. It looks a little less than that now. Rupp's going to have to produce something special because they've only got 3.1 kilometres to the finish. So he is going to have to produce that kick finish that we've seen from the American on the track. It looks as though he should be okay for the bronze medal. We haven't seen any sign of Gebrselassie for a little while now, but the last time we saw him, he was positively sprinting after looking as though he was out of the race. And here he is now. So we'll get a relative position. Well, he's just coming up on the other side of the Museum of Tomorrow. So Rupp is going to be pretty comfortable, you would think. It's almost an impossible task for Gebrselassie to be able to make up that amount of ground.
And I think Lalisa's going to struggle here. I would put Galen Rupp down as favourite to go into the silver medal position. He's got a massive margin there from third to fourth, Galen Rupp. So he's got that comfort blanket, but I think he wants the gold. And Gebrselassie, I wonder whether he's getting that information that he is so far behind Galen Rupp in that battle for bronze. But Lalisa, in terms of the body language the cameras are showing us, he keeps looking over his shoulder, and 12 seconds could very quickly evaporate.
And here are the men who are going to finish outside of the medals. Simbu of Tanzania has got himself up into 5th place, so he's run a really good race. He was 12th after 30 kilometres and has got himself up to 5th. And Mutai is now in 6th place. Rupp, with the man ahead of him in the silver medal position in his sights. There's not long to go, but he's got visual contact and he's got a target to pick off. And Lalisa has been worried for a little while now. He's had a couple of good looks in the rear vision mirror.
I think Rupp's got this. He's got all the momentum and he can see him up ahead. Lalisa has nothing to focus on because Kipchoge is gone. He's in a class of his own, and he is now just moments away from fulfilling a lifetime's ambition, and he still looks so strong and so full of running. It will be great to see his split for the second half of the race.
That split there is interesting. Rupp has only been able to take 1 second off Lalisa since they went through the 40-kilometre mark, so he's taken 1 second off him in 1.1 kilometres. It looked as though the gap was closing, but time-wise, it is now back to 12 seconds, so it's exactly where it was at 40k.
Has he got the acceleration in the closing stages? Does he want it enough? There's Lalisa. It's now 9 seconds, 10 seconds. I think this one could go all the way to a big sprint. Can he find something in the last kilometre and secure a second Olympic silver medal? He finished on the podium behind Mo in London, but this arguably would be more of a surprise medal in only his second race over the marathon distance. It's been an absolutely brilliant performance from Galen Rupp in third. Lalisa's run the race of his life. He's trying to upgrade the bronze medal he got in the World Championships back in Daegu. But Eliud Kipchoge now, he's pulling further and further away from Lalisa, and Rupp is just, well, it keeps flicking from 8, 9, 10 seconds. Eliud Kipchoge now almost a minute clear. He has destroyed this field. with an absolutely blistering acceleration of pace. 14.22 for that 5 kilometre, and that's what did the damage. And he's now beginning to soak up the applause of the crowd. He knows, he must know surely now, he's going to be the Olympic champion as he edges towards the finish. And he's
So he's won Hamburg, he's won Rotterdam, Chicago, London, Berlin, and then London again, and now he's heading for glory in Rio.
This is it. There's nothing standing between Eliud Kipchoge and the moment he's dreamed of for so many years. It's a grimace, but I think it's a smile as well. Twice he was denied the Olympic gold medal, in Athens on the track and in Beijing, as Rupp desperately tries to close the gap on Lelisa. Kipchoge looks round, but there's no one in sight because he's been in a class of his own here today. He has yet to run a bad marathon. This is where he feels at home, on the roads rather than on the track. But he's still got the speed that took him to the Olympic podium twice, but it didn't take him on top. This time, it's a glorious finish for Eliud Kipchoge. It's a guard of honour on both sides of the run-in for home. He's still sprinting, still accelerating, and how he would have dreamed of this moment for so many years. Eliud Kipchoge is the Olympic marathon champion, and he has destroyed the field with brilliant acceleration. He will be acclaimed one of the famous Olympic champions. Finally, he has the gold, and look at what it means to him. His whole career has been building up to this moment, and it has finally produced the gold medal. Lelisa is a spent force in second. He's glancing over his shoulder. Rupp is doing everything he can to close the gap, but now Lelisa can celebrate. He adds his name to a rich list of Ethiopian marathon medalists, not to be the gold, but what a great finish from him. We could tell he was hurting, we could tell he was struggling, but he's managed to withhold the advance of Galen Rupp. They're both absolutely exhausted. Lelisa glancing over his shoulder again and again and again. He doesn't want to have to sprint in the last 20 metres. Rupp is jogging home. What an amazing performance from him in only his second marathon. But it's silver for Faisa Lelisa, upgrading his bronze from the World Championships in Daegu. Second this time. And what a moment for Galen Rupp in only his second marathon. In this most brutal of distances, the American is coming home for a place on the Olympic podium. Lelisa celebrates. He'll wait for the rest of his teammates. Galen Rupp, Olympic silver on the track in London, is the marathon bronze medalist in an event in which he is still a total novice.
Official sponsor of the South African Olympic and Paralympic teams. Telkom, proud sponsor of Speed.
Kipchoge there, what a phenomenal run from the athlete. But for me, well, a great one. We can't take that away from him. But running a 10,000 and then a 42K marathon